Welcome to the Disneyville podcast, episode 4. We already did the whole thing, an hour and 8 minutes.
Yeah, and guess what? We didn't turn on our mics. So we have sound. It
From
was
the
recorded
camera.
with our camera. So this might sound normal, but in a minute, it's not.
Yeah. So we recorded this entire episode. So we're just giving you a little warning. I would say I can't believe we did this, but I can absolutely believe we did this.
100%. I'm not
So
surprised.
after we're done talking here in just a moment, you're going to hear it sounds like just a normal camera audio. It's not going to sound like a podcast, but we have the whole thing. We're not going to re-record an entire
We got to go pick up the
hour.
kids,
Yeah.
guys. We don't have time, I wish.
So I would like to take a moment now and apologize for the sound quality for this episode.
I don't think it'll be that bad, but it's not going to be the same. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And from now on, we will double and triple check to make sure that we hit the record button on the microphones.
Yeah. That's on both of us, really, because we both usually check in. We were just too confident. We just dove. You hit record on this, right?
Yeah. So this time it's recording anyway. So without further ado, welcome to episode 4 of the Disneyville podcast.
Top 10 in Animal Kingdom.
Welcome to the Disneyville podcast, episode 4.
I had to think about it. I was like, which number? 4.
Yeah, 4. Talking about Animal Kingdom today.
Right?
I said,
Weird. I think every episode is going to start with me making you start it and then me just making fun of whatever you
Whatever
say
I
to
do.
No. Well, what's up? I'm Jessica. This is Tyler. We're excited you're here, of course. I'm so excited for this episode.
I'm weirdly excited about this Animal Kingdom episode. I was telling you, we were down in the kitchen making coffee, and I'm like, I don't know why, I'm so excited for this one.
Which
Like,
is
more
funny.
excited than I have been. And
Oh,
I've
really?
been excited.
I was probably the level of excited you are for today's episode is how I felt about Hollywood Studios
Yeah.
last time, which also surprised me. Because in my head, when anyone asks, what's your favorite park? I'm like, Epcot and maybe Magic Kingdom. But then the deeper I think about it, I'm like, oh, and also Hollywood Studios. Oh, and Animal Kingdom. Like,
No.
it's hard to pick. They all obviously are so different, but there's so many fun things in each one.
There
Oh.
really are. And again, this one was pretty easy for me to make my list and rank them. I don't know if you felt the same way. Easier than the other
This
three
was the
parks.
easiest one.
Yeah.
Although there were still some concessions and hard decisions, but it came quicker.
Well, 3 of my favorite things that I loved are gone. So that made it a little bit easier. Do you know what 3 things they were?
Do you want me to guess
They're
right now?
recently
You
gone.
want me to guess?
Do you want to say our names?
I already did.
You did? Okay. Shows how much I'm paying attention.
Sorry.
All right, go ahead.
Primeval Whirl.
Yeah.
I almost said Ellen's Energy. No.
No, not quite.
Although that would have totally fit in Animal Kingdom. If you think about it.
Yeah, it really would have.
What's gone? Oh, the Kite Tails.
Kite Tails. I loved
Yeah.
Kite Tails.
I did too.
It made me so happy.
And it was such a
Sure.
short little stint. It wasn't even
Yeah.
there long, but boy, we loved it.
It would have been
Everyone
on my
hated
list.
it. We loved it.
Yeah,
So
it was great. I don't think I've smiled so
I know it was because it was so unique and weird.
So weird.
You know why we liked it? It felt like something we would have seen at a local theme park in the 90s, and I think that's why I liked it.
So if
It
you
was
don't
so
know,
low tech and amazing.
if you didn't get to see it, Kite Tails was this incredible show that they only did for like 2-3 years, maybe not
I
even
don't
that
even know
long.
if it was that long.
And they had these huge kites, just these massive kites that looked like Baloo from Jungle Book or like the Simba from the Lion King. Like they were huge, and they like came out on these wave runners, and they just zoomed around with these giant kites, and then they didn't have like a way to get them down, and so they would just always end up like wherever they landed, like in the bleachers or.
It just
I
flop and flip into a pile wherever.
I
was
loved
amazing.
it so much more than an adult show.
My cheeks already hurt thinking about it. What's the third?
Divine.
She's not there anymore?
I don't think they do.
So if
Divine
you don't
anymore.
know who Divine is, she is a
Earth
legend,
goddess?
folklore.
Folklore. Yeah.
But she would literally be camouflaged in all green, and I think she'd be on stilts.
Mhm.
Does that sound
Yeah.
right? And you just randomly see her in the park, just like being.
And she just moved
being. It's cool.
like really slowly, and she'd be like in like a wooded area.
Yeah.
You weren't even sure if you saw it until you saw like a crowd of people around, like what, and then you're like, oh, that's Divine right there. But she was like,
How does
12
she
feet
ever
tall.
go away? Like when her shift is done,
Very careful.
does she just like slowly start walking out into the main? Like it's an interesting
like
thought.
moonwalk. I don't know.
Into the forest.
Just, yeah,
Maybe they have a trap door that she just.
exactly what I was. Gonna
Now
say.
I genuinely want to know the answer. If anyone knows the answer, like you've seen Divine like be done with her shift, how does she
There
escape?
goes Divine into the Rainforest Cafe door.
Yeah, like I need to know.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that idea.
All right,
Okay.
so should we do our mug shots?
Yes, so if you're watching, today's mugs are ready.
They're actually a matching pair.
They are 1, 2, 3. It says mom on mine.
And Dad.
And then it's got the 4 park icons on the other side. So mine's pink, yours blue.
Yeah.
It's we got you yours a few years ago, and I desperately wanted the mom one, but we couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, you can find them anywhere now. I'm pretty sure they're still there.
And they have the whole family too. They have like grandma and grandpa. They have a whole line of these.
I think they even have like abuela,
Yeah,
like
I think so.
it's cool. And they're really cute.
But yeah, there's our little Willy Geist mug shots. We should probably come up with our own non.
Is that what he calls
thing.
them?
Yeah. Or is it the Today Show? Or maybe it is Willy Geist, who does like, and here's our Sunday morning mug shots, and they show the Willy Geist mug.
Is it just always the same mug?
No, it's like it's like here's Joanne from Denver with her mug shot, and she's showing her
the same mug, but it's a different person.
Is it maybe
or is it different? Same people, different mug. Same rat, different hat.
Totally different concept.
Yeah.
Okay, so without further ado, should we jump into our top 10?
Let's do it.
Or top 17, because we have some overlaps. It's a top 12 to 17. It's a... it doesn't really work.
Ish.
We should have thought through it a little better, but here we are. Story of our life. Should have thought through that one a little better.
That is so true. I'm
Also,
learning that lesson every day.
Really quickly, I'm saying a lot of visual things, so if you're listening to this, I apologize, but I do want to give a little shout out to my shirt here. It says, drink coffee and travel. Got to rep our RZ roll, which is our editors, Justin and Lacey, and they have an awesome YouTube channel as well. They do a lot of Disney vlogs and stuff, but I love this shirt. They just came out with new merch.
Yeah, their merch is really cool. I bought a hoodie.
It makes me very happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool. Okay. You want me to go first?
You do it.
All right. Number 10. I'm so curious with some of mine I'm about to tell you if they're on yours.
Okay.
Number 10. The character Flotillas.
Oh, when they come in the water? That is very cool. That's not on my list, but I do very much enjoy that.
And I'm pretty sure that was a COVID thing.
Mhm.
Didn't they start it
Yeah.
like after the fact? Because they weren't really doing meet and greets. So they decided once, I guess, some characters are back, and I might be butchering some of these details, but all of a sudden the characters would come out on these little floating boats.
What's that kind of- pontoon
like a
boat,
pontoon boat, yeah. But they're calling them flotillas, which is just cool. And I don't even know if it's a real word, but I really like the word. And it also seems fitting in Animal Kingdom. Flotilla just sounds right. But anyway, yeah. So they'll be like Rafiki on one. They'll have like Miko. I was going to say and Flip, but no, they don't have the tiny hummingbird Flip. That would be cool. Giant.
Is it flit or flick?
Actually, it's Flit.
Really?
Yeah. But now
learned
I
something
need to
new
Google
today.
it because I need to be sure that I'm right.
But a lot of times they'll have drummers on them too, and they just you could just be walking through the park and they have all these waterways, and they used to just be waterways, and now they have these things, and like you always talk about, it just makes the park feel so alive.
That's it. And they really do. I was literally today rewatching the last vlog from this most recent trip you put up on your channel, and we were in Animal Kingdom, and I was saying exactly this, and I'm like, yeah, I stand by that. It really does make everything, because they're constant. I swear to you, like, no matter where you are, that waterway goes all the way through. And if you've ever seen a map, actually the Disney map for Animal Kingdom right now shows the character Flotilla route. And it literally weaves through the entire park because there's water going all the way through.
Mhm.
So at any point, you're like seeing Pocahontas on a thing or Mickey and Minnie dressed in their safari outfits. It's cool for anyone. But of course, the kids also absolutely love it. And it's just cool. And Pocahontas is waving at you. And it's unique. What other park do they do that in, you know?
Kind of the character cavalcades they did for a while, like in Hollywood Studios. And
Yeah,
stuff
but
like
I
that.
mean, like on a boat in the water, like that's cool.
Yeah, I still love the Buzz Lightyear cavalcade. I always wave at him. He always waves back at me. We're friends.
Like that. It is Flit, by the way, with a T.
Yeah,
I had to look it up.
Learned something new today. This is very
cute.
exciting. All right, my number 10, and you're going to be surprised. I think that this is so low. Navi River Journey.
Okay, so first of all, I'm not as surprised as you think because that was one of my struggles is where to place it because I really do love it, but there's just other things I'd rather do. But what's interesting about Navi River Journey is when we bring people with us to Animal Kingdom, it's one of the ones that I'm like, oh, you have to ride it because it's so beautiful. But anyway, go on.
So it's a slow moving water ride. It's sort of like a Pirates of the Caribbean or something like that, where you're just on a boat and you're slowly moving through. But there are certain things that I love about it. One is that I love that it gets, when you first start out, you're just sort of in the forest, and as you go in more, the music gets louder and louder because you're going to see the shaman of songs, and it really the closer you get, the more music you hear, and it gets louder and more beautiful and all that kind of stuff. But it is one of those memorable things that people still talk about, like even if they haven't done it in a while. But half the time, so the most I don't know if this is still true. For a long time, the most complicated audio animatronic that Disney had was the Shaman of Songs at the end of that ride, and there's no other one that I can think of on property that looks more real than that. The way that the arms move is so fluid, and the way that she like opens her eyes and all that, it's just it's such a slow moving thing, but it looks like an actual animal, human, whatever. Like I've never seen one that looks more real than that. Obviously it's an avatar, it's not a real, or it's a person from Pandora, it's not a, but it looks so real. But the last several times we've done it, like half the time she's gone because I'm sure she's being worked on or something's gone wrong, and they just have a screen up. And so like the denouement, right? Isn't that right? The grand finale is not very grand.
I would say the climax, because then the denouement would be after.
After that. That's what I thought. That's why I almost didn't say it, because I was like,
oh, we saw the shaman all as well. Okay, denouement. But my thing is, because
he's really smart, but he doesn't know what the words mean. He says big words, but he doesn't know them.
I like this accent. So my thing with that is, because that shaman is larger scale wise, it freaks me out in a good way. That's the theme for me. Does it creep me out a little bit? Then I'm probably gonna like it. And it creeps me out just enough that I'm like, yes. And so the last time we wrote it, it was just a screen, and they were working on it, whatever. And I was very sad. To me, if that's not there, I don't want to write.
I would agree. I almost want to know.
It's so beautiful. Otherwise, like when you look up and you see like the frogs like jumping on leaves, and
yeah.
It's a really cool ride.
I don't care if it's 95% perfect. I need it to be 100%. Forget all that other amazing stuff I just saw. This guy. All right.
Number 9. Watching live performers at the Dawa Bar.
Yes. That whole area. We can sit there and
There's
see
the bathroom across the way.
Yep.
We've we've been trapped in there in like a rainstorm with my brother and sister-in-law.
That was so fun.
We've been in there with we've been at that area, not even necessarily like at the bar getting a drink, but just in that area, because there's like seats and it's under a cover. So it's right there in the middle of, I want to say Africa.
Yeah.
And oftentimes throughout the day, there's just performers right there. So you can kind of sit, you can grab a drink, you can get your Starbucks from around the corner and walk there. Like, I just love that area so much. There's something, it's such a festive section. And again, because there's constantly live performers, it's just one of my favorite spots in the entire Animal Kingdom. It's
just like a little plaza area. Yeah. There's like the gift shops off of it and that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's always, and I love the performers there always like come out into the audience, and they're like trying to get people like going and involved, and the musicians are so good, and like you see people, like they'll pull people out and people will be dancing, and it's really cool. I love that.
Yeah. Why you look at me like that? Also, it's green on your face. Is it green on mine? This feels greener than normal.
Yeah, well, here we are. That's what you get for having an amateur lighting person.
Yeah, good. Why did we hire someone?
All right, number 9 for me is it's tough to be a bug. So, is that your...
No?
You're not even on the list? Or is it later on the list? Don't tell me. I don't want to be... I want to be...
I was like trying not to give you an answer.
Okay,
with my eyes.
So it's tough to be a bug. Is one of my favorites. It's in the Tree of Life, the giant tree, but it's the show underneath, the 3D show, and it's so fun. Every time I see it, it's more fun than what I remember. But the best part is obviously the whole show is good and it's entertaining, whatever. But then it's one of those ones where they spray you with stuff, and then like the best part is at the end, like, please let all the bugs depart before you go, and then it goes and everyone jumps and screams because it feels like bugs are crawling behind your back. That's the best.
Amazing. One of my favorite parts is when the like stink bug or whatever turns around and releases the stink. Yeah. That makes me laugh every time.
Yeah.
And it's stinkier than I remember it every time.
But it's just a show, and the music is way too catchy.
It is catchy. It gets stuck in your head. And in the lobby where they have the different posters of like, instead of like Broadway shows, but instead of a chorus line, it's like
a cockroach line.
I was like, I couldn't even remember what it was, but there's a ton of them.
Gosh, there's so many good ones. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but yeah, there's a bunch of really. What's funny is a cockroach line is the one that I can remember too.
Isn't that weird?
I've got
stands out.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny ones.
Yeah, that's a solid one. That is one like with young kids. I feel like Genevieve, she doesn't know whether she's terrified or loves it. And so she goes in every time, and every time is a different reaction. So
yeah, but she
you never know what you're going to get.
We'll listen to the song like in the car and stuff. So she loves it and she gets excited, but it's a little scary.
Yeah, I think she refused to sit on the seat. She's learned enough to know
she wants to be held.
Got to sit on someone's lap.
But yeah, well, and it's for a long time. You were like, I think she'd be good, and I was like, I'm not letting her go on because I think she's going to be terrified. And finally, she went on it, but she remembered. She loved
you
it.
say went on it like it's a ride. I do that too.
But yeah. I just thought she was going to be terrified, and she wasn't. She was very brave.
We got a brave kid on our hands, folks.
Brave. All right, your number 8.
This one you're not gonna believe. Rafiki's Planet Watch.
Okay.
And the reason is it kind of encapsulates a lot of things. There's the train ride out there.
Yep.
There's like the drawing course you can take or that's going on. There's the petting zoo area. There's so much back there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of crazy because we will have plenty of trips where we don't go back there at all.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because it feels like such a to-do to like catch the train, get out there, and then when you want to come home, you have to catch a train. Like there's no other way, right? You can't walk back there. I think it's too far. I don't think there's a walkway.
I think you can only take the train out. I don't know if you can walk back or not. I don't think you can.
I don't think so. I think we would know. Yeah, well, and considering there's like animals or like, you know. But I just feel like it's the thing everyone skips, including us. But it really, if you've been to Animal Kingdom and you've not gone, go on your next trip because it really, there's a lot more back there than you probably think.
Mm-hmm.
And it also doesn't take as long as you think to get back there. So next time we go,
we need to make a point to do it.
We need to like actually when we go in, just do it first. Because if we push it off, we won't do it.
Yeah. Well, when we went last time, it was I think Gigi was maybe 2. Mm-hmm. So I think now it would be a lot more entertaining and interesting. But yeah, that was on my honorable mention list. Because I couldn't put it on there because I'm like I don't even know it well enough because we never go back there.
I know.
But when I do, I enjoy it. I just don't know it well enough.
Also, the train ride back there is cool. It's just kind of fun. But you face out. So if the train is going, one way, you're literally facing out.
Yeah.
And everyone's facing the same direction, which is also interesting. So it's just kind of an interesting little train ride.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we need to make a point to go back there again. All right. So my number 8 are, this is kind of all encompassing, the walking trails. The Maharajah Jungle Trek, Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail, the Discovery Island trails by the tree.
Okay.
So I feel like this is one of those things that people who go to Animal Kingdom almost inevitably miss. And it's a shame because they are these super, super duper well-themed trails that you walk through. And they've got animals and they've got all kinds of cool stuff. Like some of them you can go in like an area where they have like bats and there are all these bird areas. And it's really, really cool. And you feel like when you go in these things, you are a million miles away. Mm. But I will tell, and even there's obviously the trails that you can go through that you can walk through and all that. And they're really accessible too. So if you're in an ECV or a wheelchair, that you can still go through them and that kind of stuff. But they're really flat and walkable. So they're not really like hiking trails. They're just like paved trails. Yeah. But that, and then they have all these like dip in areas that you can just kind of go in and see. And we'll like stand outside of like the Starbucks area and stuff like that. And they have, I think it's otters there or something like that. But I'll see 500 people walk by and not even glance at it, let alone actually go in and take a look. So there's a whole lot of things I think people are like, okay, we got to get here, we got to get there, we got to get there. But Animal Kingdom is the most perfect place to slow down and like, oh, what's that over there? And take 5 minutes and go look. Or what's that over there? Because I feel like you just walk through with a purpose to get to your next thing and you miss so much of Animal Kingdom that way.
That's so true. It's the kind of park that like you could literally partition your day into, okay, in the morning, okay, you're going to giggle. In the morning, I'm going to get my coffee and for 3 hours just wander around. Yeah. And then I'm going to get my ice cream in the afternoon and just walk around with that. And you know what I mean? Yeah. And then in the evening, maybe grab a drink. So I just feel like you could not ride anything and not see any shows and see it. You could fill your day still.
100%.
Don't you 100%. Think? I mean, just with that, there's so many. I still feel like we've gone there 100 million times. I still feel like there are corners of it we haven't seen. Yeah. I'm convinced of it. So
my teeth, my coffee mug. Never done this before.
People chip their teeth that way. Beware. Beware. Anyway, yeah, that's a solid one.
Yeah.
That's what Animal Kingdom's all about.
Yeah,
that's
it really
what
is.
It's all about.
Oh, so good. All right, your number 7.
All right, well, this will be quick. Navi River Journey. I struggled with where to put it because I had to have it on there, and when I thought about swapping that one out with honorable mentions, which you'd think then I would put it on 10, but
Yeah.
I felt like it deserved higher because I do always want to ride it.
Yeah.
But only when that animatronic is working.
Yeah, they need to have like a little sign out front. Like,
Shaman's not in today, folks.
Do not
it's just
enter.
going to be a screen. No, it really is still worth working, or still worth riding, but yeah. I think
Yeah.
we've made our points clear.
yeah, I believe we have. Yes. All right, number 7 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Finding Nemo the musical.
Wow. Number 7?
Yeah.
Huh.
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 I see you disagree. No, it's so good. But again, when I was looking at my top list, I'm like, I have to rank it, and the other stuff I think is higher. But Finding Nemo the musical is so good. So if you don't know, they just redid the show. I think they made a lot of really positive changes. Like they put some new screens up, and it seems a lot more like they cleaned it up. It's a lot more modern, and I really like the projections they've done. But they also cut a few things that I really liked. Stop making fun of me.
No, I'm not. I'll explain why I'm laughing in a minute. Go ahead.
So I Crush used to be flying, and like Crush would go off the stage and then come back when they were doing Go with the Flow, and then when they did stop, I cannot work like this. I'll wait.
Under these conditions. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm laughing because
I'm gesticulating with my hands and
no,
she's making
that's
fun
not.
of me.
That's not.
No, that's not it.
I can't believe you know Pinocchio. Is it Pinocchio?
No.
Oh, you know.
Okay.
Okay. No, I'm giggling because, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Anytime we have to stop and Tyler has to go back, he gets so frazzled. And we just had to stop, and he was like, oh, I don't know where I was. And anytime you re-say your lines, basically, it just sends me into a tizzy of laughter. Okay,
Yeah.
The matinee was good, but the evening performance was even better,
It was
you
a
know?
little better. I mean, you
All
still
right.
got some work.
So go on. I'm sorry. No more laughing.
I don't know. It's fine. Go see it. Go next.
Well, I'll talk about it too in a minute.
Okay. But anyway, so like during Just Keep Swimming too, Marlin and Dory used to fly, and it was so cool.
Oh.
And they also cut a few parts that I just thought were really funny. That they had like, wait, we're penguins, we can't fly, and they cut that stuff. So I mean, it really is it's almost exactly the same show as it used to be, and I think a lot of the updates they did are awesome. But they cut like 2 or 3 of my little favorite things they used to do. And I'm sure probably, I don't know, for like insurance purposes, it was probably cheaper to not have people flying all the time, and maybe the rigging would be broken. I'm sure.
And the trademark on penguins is really, so they don't want to mess with that.
Can't do it. And they're all dressed like lawyers, so at a fancy dinner, so
It's true.
don't mess with them.
Don't mess with penguins. All right, my number 6 is Lion King.
Okay.
So that show, kind of the same thing. Went away for a while. When it came back, didn't they shorten it and adjust it a bit?
Yeah.
And it's definitely shorter. I remember, I don't know the exact running time comparison, but it definitely felt a lot shorter this last time we saw it. One thing to know before I get into why I love it, if you are actually going to the show and you are wanting to do like a lightning lane for it, they will cut you off at 10 minutes till showtime for the lightning lane. And when I say they will, I mean you get there 10 minutes before, they'll be like, it's too late. So like get there 15 minutes before showtime at least. I would say even sooner, because that happened to us 2 separate times.
Yeah.
And that's on us, really, because first time I should have learned, and the second time I'm like, woo, and we yet again. So anyway,
and a lot of people like commented on that video, and they're like, "Oh, they'll let you in after." I was like, "No, they told like," and I don't. That's not for every ride. A lot of rides, if you show up after
but
your
Lion
lightning
King
lane,
specifically, the way
they
it's
were like,
set up.
"Absolutely not."
And
It's
I
so
get it.
Busy. Every
It's
show
so
is so
busy.
full.
It's like almost impossible to get into, which is why we did the lightning lane. Because if you want to go in, you have to, and we'll do plenty of episodes on like our tips on these kinds of things. But just to throw this in there, because it is probably the hardest thing to do at Animal Kingdom. If you want to just go in without a lightning lane or anything, you have to wait in line for a while before the show time, before they'll even open the doors, because we'll get there like 25 minutes before showtime, like, all right, and we'll try to get in the line, and the cast member at the end of the line is like, yeah, you're probably at this point not going to get in because this line already is so long that once they start letting people in, you'll end up having to wait for the next show, which is like, however. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that it's really hard to get into. I recommend Lightning Lane, but again, just my tip. But anyway, that show.
Totally
wow.
worth it though.
Totally worth it. I mean, we've got fire in there. We've got acrobats, monkeys, like doing wild tricks. Like,
Mhm.
it's not just cool for the kids. That is cool for any adult that goes
Yeah,
to see that show.
is.
It is just a spectacle, but then there's also, you know, the Lion King and these unbelievable singers, and it kind of just has it all.
Yeah, it really does.
With the quicker pace, it's perfect. By the end of it, you're like, that was a good amount for that show.
I would agree.
It didn't need to be any longer.
And I think those are probably the best singers on property consistently, because we've seen a lot of different casts, and they are all so good. They used to have this guy who played Scar for years, and his voice made the whole like theater like rumble.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. He would come out and sing "Be Prepared." I loved it.
It was so good. Makes your bones rattle.
Yeah, it gets deep down into the marrow.
Shakes out some things that have been in there for a while. Not what? I don't even know. I meant like deep in your bones, like worries and anxieties.
The Disneyville podcast. What are we doing? All right. We'll come back to that. So my number 6, that was your number 6, right?
Yes, yep.
So you're going to notice a theme here with the other theme parks. We talked about the same thing. Sitting anywhere and drinking specifically an Old Elephant Foot IPA. Now, I know we're not talking about food and drink, but I love sitting in Animal Kingdom. And again, really, we've talked about this. It's the same in every park, but just taking a little time, relaxing, whether that's a coffee or a drink or a whatever, and just people watching. And some of my favorite areas, I was trying to think, okay, what are my favorite areas to do that in Animal Kingdom? One is that by the Dawa Bar that you brought up, that area. One is the walkway behind the Tree of Life, where Africa is sort of on the one side and then Asia, and then you walk through, and as you're walking through, Tree of Life is on the right-hand side. That's a great area. And
very shady, too.
Yes. And you sort of have a view of that, and people just walking by. And then over by Everest is another good area, but there's no shade over there. But if you're sitting in like the big, where they do Rivers of Light and stuff like that, that a lot of times even during the day is just open. You can just sit there. So that's another nice little area too.
Yeah, full sun. We just recently ate snacks at Mr. Kamal's. They also had the Old Elephant Foot IPA there. And side note, if you're getting one in that little area, the walkway to Asia, or actually no, it's closer to Everest. That one, the snacks there, they had like seasoned fries, and I know we're not talking about food, but I'm real hungry. And they had like, I want to say pot stickers or something like that, and they were both really good. Really good.
I think they were pot stickers, and they were good.
Real good. So anyway, just throwing that in there.
Yes.
Okay, my number 5 is specifically Maharajah Jungle Trek. So piggybacking on yours, like all of the different pathways with the animals. I had to double check that I was talking about the right one. So this one, as you're walking through, there's of course just cool animals to see. It's unreal. But they have ruins, in quotes, ruins of an old palace or temple or something. And so you're kind of walking throughout that. And like you said, you feel like you are a million miles away. You do not feel like you're in a Disney theme park. There's usually not a lot of people back there. So you're just listening to the animals. It's so peaceful. And I remember one time we were back there wandering through. It was like pre-kids. And there was a Disney PhotoPass photographer. I feel like we've told this story before in a video. But there was a PhotoPass photographer back there and like took pictures of us. I don't even know if they were allowed to do this. Like, I was going to say against our will. No. Took photos of us without us knowing, and then was like, hey, I took some photos of you. Let me scan your band. They were, whatever happened to those photos? They were so cool.
I'll put them over this on the YouTube version.
I feel like they were weirdly cool and like unique, and
They were just us walking. I think I had like my hat backwards and a camera or something like that. But
it sounds like you.
That does sound like me. But yeah, it was just us walking. Yeah, I'll put those over. I have them.
So it was just kind of a cool moment. I don't know if they regularly do that. It's never happened again, but it was just a cool thing. But yeah, just that area by the palace ruins is just so peaceful. You feel like you're in Asia. I mean,
yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. So my number 5 was Festival of the Lion King. So obviously
that's what it was called. I could not. It was like Lion King Festival. I couldn't come up with it.
Well, so it's funny. So quick sidebar, with my agency, I talked about all this stuff all the time, especially when I was actively an agent. And so I got to the point where I start typing. I would make keyboard shortcuts. That's what they're called. So I would make keyboard shortcuts. So like I would type FOLK and it would change it to Festival of the Lion King. That way I didn't have to type out when I was typing to a client Festival of the Lion King every time. Or like GF would be Grand Floridian. So I have a whole slew of these, and most of them are still in my computer settings. And so every time I type the word folks, which apparently I type way more often than I ever thought I would, it changes it to Festival of the Lion King, and I have to backspace it. And I'm like, dang, nabbit, go back. I don't know why I said the word folks so often.
Were you not typing folks previously, and now you suddenly do?
I
Because
guess.
otherwise you would have recognized it back then. Like, oh, every time I try to. But it's funnier that you no longer need that abbreviation, but you say folk so much.
Yeah.
Festival of the Lion King. Oh yeah, FLLK.
Well, and
That
it's
is so
sometimes
funny.
it'll do it automatic. Like EP is Epcot. I have that saved as a keyboard shortcut, and so like now, like when I'm, especially now that we're doing Disneyville, I'll write episode all the time, and I'll start to write EPI, and it'll change it to Epcot before I can change it. I'm like, dang, damn it. So I got to go through and
A
change
blessing and a
those.
curse.
Anyway, so yeah, Festival of the Lion King is so good, and the floats, I'm pretty sure used to be a part of a parade. So they have these big, massive floats with Pumbaa, Simba, a giraffe, and what's the fourth
I
one?
want to say an elephant. Because I think
Yes.
they say, okay, yeah.
And so those used to be part of a parade. So I think that's really cool that they repurposed them to be a part of the.
And they move and like I think they blink and
Yeah.
stuff. It's just cool.
Yeah, I love, and during the show, like they'll just kind of be bobbing their head along to the music, so it seems like they're alive. It's cool.
It's so cool. All right, number 4, Dinosaur.
That was my number 4.
Aw, cute. Why do you love it?
Why do you love it?
Why do you love it?
How do you love it? 4. Just Tyler,
Quiet, folks.
quiet. I'm gonna need a break. You go ahead.
You get yourself together. So, Dinosaur, my favorite part is when you're going through, and isn't it the same exact ride, track, and vehicle, etc., as Indiana Jones in
Yes.
Disneyland?
Yeah.
So I think learning that is so cool to me that they would do that because I'm like it totally works for both of them. Like in one case you're going back in time trying to wrangle a dinosaur into your vehicle, which is insane if you think about it. And then in the other one, of course, you're Indiana Jones, etc. So I love that part where you're trying to, is it Carnotaurus or I just made up a dinosaur? I feel like you could put pretty much anything in front of
A Taurus. And
and it would probably be right. Anyway,
it's a Flarnotaurus.
whatever it is, when it's like they take your picture because they're scaring you in that moment. The first time I ever rode it, it was so genuinely terrifying to me. And so I think from that moment on, I just loved it. And now it's not quite as scary, but it is fun. And you go fast on parts of that.
And it's pitch black in there.
Yeah.
It's still one of the most thrilling rides I think they have.
Yeah.
Like, it genuinely gives me, like, butterflies in my tummy every time. I knew that would get you. Butterflies in my tongue. I can fly twice.
We've been watching a lot of Reading Rainbow with Genevieve, so we got...
Anyway,
oh my gosh, Tyler.
but no, it really is so thrilling, and like
Yeah.
every time it's even more sort of immersive than I remember, and it really is. I'm like, but it makes so much sense.
I'm just replaying you saying in my tummy. I love it. So I married him, folks.
It makes so much sense though, because if you know the Imagineering department is going to invest so much money in making these trackless vehicles that can move and they go on all these different axes and they're sort of programmed into this, I'm like, it makes so much sense for them to use it in multiple parks.
Yeah.
And they could have just copied and pasted and made a dinosaur ride elsewhere. We could have had an Indiana Jones here because Indiana Jones totally would have worked in Animal Kingdom. But I like that they at least use the same technology and even the same ride tracks because, you know, all the angles and stuff they have to figure out. Oh my gosh, what a crazy complicated thing roller coasters are. But I like that they at least go to change the
total
theme, whatever. But it's so good. It gets your heart going.
It does.
But we also, that ride gets talked about way more often than almost any other ride in Disney because we use the phrase "not our dino" every day because it'll be something we're like going through the cereal aisle and we'll be like, oh, it's the oh wait, is that peanut butter crunch? Oh no, that's Wheaties, not our dino. And
yeah, so in that ride at one point they're trying to find a very specific dinosaur, and which I'm just gonna say is a Carnotaurus. I know that's not what it is.
And identify.
No.
Carnotaurus.
And nope, not our dino. Come on, let's go. And that's exactly it. So
Get him out of there.
we gotta go. What does he say? Because we say that all the time too. We're not gonna make it.
Yes.
We're not gonna make it.
So good.
So much of that ride is a part of our vernacular.
It
It's
is.
unreal. We're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it. That's how I feel. Like we'll be driving home with the girls and Felicity's crying and Genevieve's just talking about something and mad about everything. And we're both like almost home. We're like, we're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it.
Anyway,
That
so we
needs
talk
to
about
be on
that.
some merch.
Yeah.
I would wear the heck out of a shirt that said, we're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it.
All right.
But you have a shirt that says not our dino, right? Didn't I buy you one?
It is, but it says it's slightly different. It doesn't say not our dino. It says.
I love this ride.
It has something. It's
Like
almost
that.
exactly. I'm
Yeah.
forgetting, but it's slightly different. But yeah, not our dino.
You got to ride that ride, guys.
Citizen of Disneyville. We're not gonna make it.
What are we even doing?
Alrighty. So you
Alright.
were number 3 then.
Number 3, Finding Nemo. I ranked
Wow.
mine pretty high. And I mean, I'm just a sucker for shows. You are too.
Mhm.
But that's just it. That feels like such a Broadway caliber show. Like when I think about all the different shows in the Disney parks, that reigns, I think might reign supreme when it comes to like live shows other than Fantasmic, but that's different. You know,
yeah.
it's totally different. Because it's just so unreal. It really does feel like Broadway caliber, singing, acting, sets, costumes,
Yeah.
all of it. And the fact that they crank that out so many times a day is
In
unbelievable.
like 35-minute.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so good. And at no point, especially with the new changes they made, at no point does it feel slow. Like you move through that story and you're like, oh, it's over.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted more.
Well, and it's written by the same couple that wrote the music for Frozen and for Avenue Q and all that kind of stuff. The Lopez. What's the
Kristen Anderson and something. It is Lopez.
Yes. Anyway, that's them. They wrote that too. So the music is so good. Obviously, they can write some pretty good songs. Have you heard of a song called "Let It Go"? But they have a cast album of Finding Nemo the musical, and I used to listen to that thing on repeat. It is so good. But I sing "Go with the Flow" all the time,
Mhm.
even though it's too high and it's out of my range. I still sing it.
Nah, you totally rock it. You do. Genevieve loves listening to Just Keep Swimming while she's in the tub. She's just
Yeah.
cute. That is really cute.
So good.
Some
All
good
right.
life lessons in there too.
It's true.
Also, as parents, we need like some of the lessons where it's like you gotta let your kid, like literally the lesson in Finding Nemo for Marlin, you
Mhm.
gotta let your kid try some things that might be a little scary for you as the parent.
But what if they're not ready? I mean, how do you know?
Oh my god!
How do you know?
But it's so true though, right? That's something I struggle with. Okay, number 2. Wait, no, you were number 3.
Okay. Expedition Everest.
I thought that would be your numero
It
uno.
was, and I flipped, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
I'll tell you why. The other 2 are better that I have on my list.
Oh, can't argue with that.
But no, it's obviously so Expedition Everest is like the thrill ride there in where are we talking about? Animal Kingdom. Thank you. It's
FOLK.
it's so good, but it's just sort of a classic thrilling roller coaster in the confines of having this amazing story around it and having this completely immersive area. But it's just a really, really thrilling ride. But when I was thinking about it, I'm like, take away the mountain, it's just a really good roller coaster. It's probably my top. I think I still like Rock and Roller Coaster a little bit better.
It's more thrill. Rock and Roller Coaster is definitely more
But
thrilling.
as far as like thrill rides, that's like my second favorite thrill ride in all of the
Mhm.
parks. But it's the theming around it when you're in the queue and when it's so incredibly immersive there. It's amazing. Quick pro tip: if you're able to take the single rider line, they will have a 2-hour wait, and we'll hop on the single rider line and we'll be on and off in 15 minutes. Because
most of the time less.
there's always a single rider, and it's always like 4 or 5 people there.
Because think about it. If a group of 3 or 5 goes in and they're, you know what I mean, in the regular line, and they're like, okay, 5, and there's only 2 in each car, well, there's always that one person, so they're pulling in single riders all
Constantly.
the time. So it's perfect because, you know, who cares if you're sitting next to someone you don't know? You do
Yeah.
that all the time. I barely know you.
Right.
I'm sitting right next to you. But yeah, that is definitely the best tip. And yeah, well, I'll go ahead and flow into my number 2 is Expedition Everest.
Yeah.
So to continue, the Yeti, that moment where you see the Yeti is
Mhm.
still so cool to me. And I'm like, how many times do I have to ride this for this to not be cool to me? And it is still so cool.
Yeah.
It's just, even though I know like the joke is obviously like fix the Yeti, it's supposed to like swipe down.
It
isn't
did.
it?
I remember it moving.
And
like,
it really,
early on.
it is a shame that it's not fixed, but it is so cool as is. And like the cold blast you're feeling and the sound it makes. And then when you go backwards, like,
Mhm.
oh, such a good ride. And you know what? One of the best parts of the ride is at the beginning when you're going up the hill.
Mhm.
2 things. A, you can see everywhere. If you've not ridden this ride or the next time you do, when you're going up, look around. You can see other parks. It
Yeah.
is so, so cool. Other resorts.
Yeah.
But I love that you're like, oh, it's scary, but then you get to the top and it doesn't go straight down. It's totally like tame for a little bit, so you have time to like catch your breath.
But you build up that that
'cause you're so
adrenaline
high.
even more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is a top tier ride.
One of my favorite things to do, because I'm a horrible person, is take people on that ride and not tell them that it goes backwards.
Oh my.
I've done that like on a weird amount of occasions. Like,
Yeah, but I feel like you don't want to ruin it.
no, you don't want to ruin the surprise. Oh, it's so good though. You know what my favorite part is though? So you back up, you do the whole back thing, and you feel like you're gonna lose your lunches. You're going back up and around, and then you go up, and then you see the track flip in front of you. You go down, and then it's when right before you see the Yeti. You're going down, and you sort of, if you're in the front row especially, you go in and you kind of are going in and to the right, and it is pitch black in this tunnel. And it just feels like you are going into just this, just being out in like the bright Florida sunlight, and then you see this tunnel coming up, and you're just going down into this mountain. That's my favorite part.
Ooh, I can't picture that part, so I can't wait to ride it.
It's like just this pitch black, and you're just completely overwhelmed, and then all of a sudden there's this giant Yeti that's 30 feet tall or whatever next to you. It's crazy. It's so good.
So fun. All right, your number two.
That was your number 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my number 2 is Kilimanjaro Safaris. And I'll tell you why. That's the whole point of the park. The whole point is to go and have this sort of safari light. You know, it's obviously not a real African safari, but to be able to go in and see these animals that you're not going to be able to see. And the fact that these animals are relatively, you know, free roaming, and they have a lot more space and that kind of stuff. You get to see them in sort of a more natural environment. And the ways that they've sort of put them in these areas, you don't see like fences and that kind of stuff. It's more, you know, shrubberies and things like that that are hidden from the guest's eye. But especially first thing in the morning, you can go, and a lot of times the animals are very active, or if you can do it in the evening.
Or after a rain. I feel like they're
yeah.
partying after a rain, man.
Yeah. So that's one of the most magical things, is being able to go in. And there's been times when we've gone in like early in the morning, we go right there, and we'll see giraffes 3 feet from our thing, because they'll walk right in front of it. Or we'll see, you know, zebra 10 feet away from us, and it's just such a cool experience.
It's cool. Well, I'm really regretting my number 1 because I didn't put the safari anywhere on my list.
Really?
It's obviously in the honorable mention. When I really thought about it, and honestly, it could be in my top 5 easily, but there were just so many other things I wanted to bring up, and I think that's what I struggled with creating this list today, was I wanted to bring up the flotillas and like maybe different things people don't think about, and so safari got booted, but I mean, it's really fun. I'm the one that, like, if it's hot outside, I don't want to do the safari, and it's almost always hot outside, so I think that I have that piece with it where I'm like, you're still outside, you usually have to wait a while, it's all jerky, so if you're just like, if you're not in a good mood, like I don't know. So I love it, but I think that's why, with that in my mind, I was like, I'm just going to boot it and talk about other stuff.
That's what I'm saying. First thing in the morning when it's a little cooler out, and then in the evening they'll have it like lit up that almost looks like moonlight. It's really cool.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Just don't do the safari midday. The animals are less active. It's hot typically. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're probably
100%.
snoozing in the shade.
Yeah.
Well, my number 1, I don't actually regret. Oh, go ahead.
I'm assuming we have the same number 1 because it's one we haven't brought up
Say
yet.
it at the same time.
Avatar Flight of Passage.
No, we're up here.
Maybe up here.
Every time.
Tell me why.
3rd time's a charm, baby. Well, I'll tell you why. It is unlike anything I've ever read, and I get truly emotional every time I write it.
Red? You said red.
I don't know what I'm saying.
I've ever read it. It's one of the best I've ever read it.
It's like when you try to say screenshot, but in past tense. There's a few ways to say it.
Yep.
Anyway, but I mean, it's unlike, if you've never written it, I mean, you go into this like room basically, and you're like, okay. And you sit on this kind of like, almost like a motorcycle, if you think of it that way, because you're hunched forward, you have to be sitting like a certain distance, it pushes into you anyway. And then they like are like, all right, they flip on a screen, you know what I mean? And you're thinking, okay, this will be kind of cool. I get it. No, you don't get it. It is, you feel like you are on the back of, what are they called? An egret? No,
bitch. I was going to say egret too. Why do we both say egret?
Also, what's an egret?
On the back of an egret.
What is that?
No, I think it's a large bird.
I do too.
It's like
Why are we
ostrich
talking?
like.
It's a heron. It's like a heron.
It's a...
Why would we be on the map?
Why do we both think egret?
Eagle's wings.
On eagle's wings.
Wait.
Okay.
What are they called?
Banshee. Are they called banshees?
Well, now I'm doubting everything because why do we both have egret in our
All right. Cut it. Restart the episode. We obviously don't know what we're talking about.
Okay.
I think it's banshee.
A winged mountain banshee. Egret.
Okay.
So you're on the back of this winged mountain banshee, and they make it so that you feel it breathing underneath you, and just that alone,
100%.
just that alone is so unbelievable that someone thought to do that and then they pulled it off. But then, I mean, you really do feel like you're flying. You've got the sense, you've got the wind blowing through your hair, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. I could
really
ride that
is.
over and over and over again.
Yeah. It really is. So it's if you've ever ridden Soarin', but not this, it's a similar kind of thing where there's this giant sort of rounded screen in front of you, but you were wearing 3D glasses and you, like Jessica said, you kind of go into this tiny room and the whole idea is that you transport, or whatever they call it, an avatar. Mm-hmm. You transport into an avatar that's on the back of this egret, and you just, the way they do it, there's like light flashes and stuff like that, and then boom, this wall in front of you is gone, and you feel like you've been transported to a different planet. And
it feels real, you guys. I can't explain other than that. It feels real.
It does. I wish it was.
Soarin', you suspend a little display. You're like, oh, okay, I look around and I see.
Like hang gliding, yeah.
But no. This feels real. If you've not ridden it, like that is one. I think there might be. Do they have individual lightning lane for that? I'm not sure. If they do, it's worth paying for. Either way, it's worth it being the first thing you pick for a lightning lane, 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Because you can do single rider line at expedition. Like you can pull off other things. That's worth it.
If you can suspend belief just a little bit while you're writing it, it truly feels like you are flying. It is incredible.
It is. It's so cool. I'm not at all surprised. As I was typing it, I was like, I know what my number one is. I know what yours is. And probably anyone else that's written it. It's probably everyone's number one for a reason. All
right. So we have a new segment we're doing where we're going to read a few of our most recent reviews from Apple. Apparently Spotify doesn't allow you to leave reviews, but Apple Podcast does. But Spotify, you can rate us. So if you would rate us, that would help us quite a bit.
Yeah, it does help us. It helps other people find us.
Yes, absolutely. And so we are on Apple Podcast, though, as well. So if you're listening to this, obviously you probably know that. But you can actually leave reviews, and the reviews really help us a lot. So we're going to read a few of our most recent reviews.
Oh, see, this is going to be kind of weird for us to read because it feels braggy. Because it's nice stuff. I mean,
it means a lot. It really means so much.
It really does. Okay, so Colleen Cecilia. Okay, love your name. Like, really. She said, definitely worth your time and gave us 5 stars. Thank you. She said, I've already been a fan of both Jessica and Tyler for about 6 years now. I look forward to watching or listening to all their content. I'm also a big Disney fan. I've gone with my family since I was a toddler and now with my own children. Okay, that's cool. Because I didn't go until I was grown. You went as a kid, but that's so cool. I can't imagine how I would feel about Disney how much more I would love it if I had also gone, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My point, I love how Jessica and Tyler interact with each other. They're funny, compliment each other well, and the show just makes you feel good. That's such a nice thing to say. I can't wait to go to Disney again. I'm soaking in all of the knowledge and excitement. Thank you. That's awesome. So nice. Okay.
All right. So, Conrad said immediately fantastic.
Wow.
That's a big compliment.
Yeah. Like, we better not screw this up.
This podcast is so awesome from the very beginning. From the adorable intro that gives me feelings of nostalgia to the hilarious conversations between Jessica and Tyler, which I love, having to get me through the months I don't have Vlogmas to keep me company. We do 31 videos in December. It's
31 vlogs. 31 it's a lot. Vlogs, yeah. That is Vlogmas.
If you don't want Vlogmases. To keep me company, the super fun Disney talk us nerds can't get enough of. I love it all. I saw a new episode pop up that immediately got the excited feeling to listen as I was about to walk down Main Street and see the castle. As if I was about to walk down Main Street.
Oh, I thought she really was. I'm like, that's so cool.
That's awesome. Thank you. That
really does mean a lot. When we first got like deep into Disney love, we started discovering like Disney podcasts, and that, I swear to you, Disney podcasts, and I know this sounds silly to people that don't love going to Disney. I figure if you're still listening, you probably do, or you have a high interest in it. Maybe not. I don't know. But they would like sustain us. Like listening to the podcast would sustain us until our next trip. You know what I mean? It would give you that little like weekly or whatever dose of that Disney like
Yeah.
nerdiness or magic or whatever
Yeah.
until you finally got to go on your next trip, whatever. And it would, oh my
I will
gosh.
never forget the first time I found the two that I used to listen to. So I used to really only listen to two. One was Inside the Magic with Ricky Briganti, which
I don't even think, I know Inside the Magic still
I
exists,
think
but I
he
don't.
sold it, and it was a very
The
different.
podcast is not. I don't even know if it exists anymore.
I don't
He
know.
certainly doesn't do
No,
it.
but I haven't listened to it in well over 10 years. But yeah, I think Inside the Magic is a very different place now. But back in the day, he was reading like Disney news, and I will never forget. I was literally outside cutting the grass, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna see if there's like Disney podcasts out there." And I was like literally out cutting the grass, and I'm like, "He's talking about Disney. This is the most exciting thing I've ever heard." But
I remember you telling me about it.
now there's, I mean, 100, if not more, different Disney podcasts. But back then there was only a few, and the other one that I found that we just immediately clicked was Resort Loop, and they're still doing it.
Yep.
Resort Loop still exists, but I will never forget that excitement I found. Like, there are other people who feel like I do.
It's so true. It's funny. I saw in let's say BuzzFeed listicle type article, and I'm still a sucker for those, you guys. Like every once in a while you see one, you're like, well, I want to see. And this one was like 22 ways to know that you're getting, or that I don't remember what it was. It was like chuggy. I'm butchering it. It's like Cheugy. And I promise the story is going somewhere. It's worth me telling, I promise. Let me look up. This is how I know I'm chuggy. I have to look it up. Okay. It's an American, okay, blah, blah, it was coined. Okay, it's a pejorative description of lifestyle trends associated with the early 2010s and millennials. Probably some of you guys watching. So basically they're saying it's described as the opposite of trendy or trying too hard. So my take was it's kind of like, oh, you're a millennial, like, oh, you're wearing skinny jeans, oh, you're still parting your hair. That kind of dumb stuff that we've all read about. Okay, Tyler's probably like, what are you talking about? I know a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, so moving past that, because it's all silly, is that it was like 22 things that are basically like millennial trends or chuggy, whatever. The number one on this list was Disney adults. And I was like, what? Like, it didn't even make sense. I'm like, how is that cornered in that? Because I would bet a lot of different ages are watching this. But it was just kind of odd. I'm like, how can that be a thing that was cool that's not now? I'm like, I think you either are into it or not. I don't think it was ever like cool.
Because I think about like all the
you
kids.
know what I mean?
I think about all the kids in like the Disney college program and stuff like that love Disney, that go down. Like, I mean,
I found it fascinating. Also,
is
there's more Disney podcasts and this kind of stuff and more Disney vlogging now than there ever has been. So I just thought it was funny. I obviously was like,
and I feel like
took offense to it because
I'm really one of the older like Disney vlog channels, but I feel like there's a lot of younger people that are Disney vlogging now too.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
We have to talk about. We're already like an hour in. We got to talk about our.
You have it. Oh no, it's on Disneyville.
Yeah.
So one thing we wanted to mention. So I think we mentioned it last time, but on our social media and our Instagram, which is at Disneyville Podcast. Shameless plug, please go follow. Over there, we of course share when new episodes go live, but we also will pop on the stories there, and we will ask for feedback if you want to give us that, but also participation. If you want to share, like today, we're going to be sharing a bunch of you guys sent in your favorite things to do in Animal Kingdom. So we're going to read some of those right now.
But we've decided one important thing to note is up until now, we've kind of been sharing it on our own personal stories, like on my personal Instagram and Jessica's personal Instagram. From now on, we're probably only going to be pulling from the Disneyville Podcast Instagram. So be sure to follow us there. So if you want to be featured, if you want to answer our questions, if you want to be if you want to be a citizen of Disneyville, make sure that you are following us there. So because this is where we'll pull our stuff from. Okay, so Wanderlust with Rachel. So Rachel's one of my agents.
Yeah.
She said, early mornings on Kilimanjaro Safaris are the best. I happen to agree with you, Rachel.
Okay, here's one. rpower029 said the Rapids and Safari. So we did not even mention Kali River Rapids, which think I've ridden once.
One time, yeah.
Maybe twice. Because you just get so wet. I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. I'm like, maybe one day we'll do it.
Yeah.
But literally bring an entire outfit to change because who likes having wet socks? And they have like places for you to put stuff to keep dry.
Right.
But I mean,
we had, and maybe they've changed it since then because it's been a long time since we rode it. But we got, I think some people get like, a little bit wet, but we both were just happened to be in the dip and we got drenched. The only time I've ever been more wet from a ride is the Dudley Do Right in Universal.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, I had jumped into a pool. It was insane. But anyway.
And we were all wearing jeans.
Yeah. Anyway.
They were weighing us down.
So I definitely think that it's a great. I remember really liking it, but you almost have to like be prepared to go in and do that
on the chance that you get totally drenched.
Yeah.
So many for Safari, almost
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
So now I feel like a complete heel for not my list at all, you know? Also, someone, and we'll talk about this later, but Gracie D was asking if we would do one for Disney Springs.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that
In just a moment.
Yeah.
So Rodney Freeman said, get in Kilimanjaro as early as possible and then find Kevin. So Kevin is the bird from Up, and Kevin walks around all the time, and I'm always surprised, and I'm always excited to see Kevin.
It's very exciting.
Kevin is like
He's huge.
12 feet tall, and he's
doing his thing.
I love it. It makes me so happy seeing Kevin walk around.
That was a great addition.
It was.
To Animal Kingdom.
Yeah,
like
100%
wonderful.
agree.
Okay, Ayla Array said, walking around Pandora, specifically at night, the lights are incredibly gorgeous. I can't believe we didn't think to mention that. Yes, you are totally right. Because they knew what they were doing when they were doing the light design and the sound design. Because you hear different animals that would have existed there in the world of Pandora. You know what I mean? It's, oh my gosh, they did such a good job. I don't even care. I'm going to be honest. I don't even care about Avatar at all. We've seen the movie like once, and we'll probably eventually see the second. I get why people really like it, but I was very surprised that Disney like did this leap of faith and like created this whole world. I don't think you need to have ever seen the movie to totally love Pandora. Anyway.
So this is something interesting. So Hannah Emily said, Dinosaur. I'm praying they don't take it away with the rest of Dinoland. So I heard that too. I never believe anything until Disney announces it. Mm-hmm. But somebody was saying that they were just talking to a cast member, and the cast member's like, yep, they're definitely getting rid of it. But I'm like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times even cast members hear things through the cast member vines that are...
And sometimes it's right.
Sometimes it's right, but sometimes it's not. So I have heard that rumor that it's going away, but I also really hope that it doesn't.
JC Lippert said, watching the kites crash landing during Kite Tails. Yep, love it. 10 out of 10. Would recommend. A lot of mention of specific food items, which I'm so excited to do episodes about that. But Tyler, it's too bad it's a podcast because I'm like, we should do it like mukbang. I'm sure I butchered that style where you're like eating while talking, but you'd have to listen because I'm going to be so hungry. Like I remember when I would like really religiously listen to podcasts. If it was an episode about food, I could not listen if I were hungry because it would just make me mad.
Just mad. I'm just mad about hungry stuff.
So we're going to need to like eat a solid meal right before we film. I guess that's my point. Ooh. Okay, Anna Diane Underwood said, point out the leftover signs of McDonald's sponsorships in Dinosaur. I'm assuming she means like Dinosaur Land. Interesting.
Like the ketchup, mustard.
Or does she mean the ride? Maybe.
Remember how in the
the tubes are red, white, and yellow, right?
And it has like the chemical compounds, the chemical makeups of ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise.
But I wonder if there was a sponsorship and that's why that was a piece of it. Maybe. That would be so cool. We're going to have to do... Listen, we're getting real excited about future episodes and talking about like those kinds of things, like hidden things you might not know and like history things and just interesting facts. So I have to look into that.
So Peachy Claire said, because of my 5-year-old, Dinosaur is a must. Wrote it 4 times in a row and my husband ended up with a hernia.
Oh my.
I am so sorry.
Hope her husband's okay.
Wow.
So, that's too many times on Dinosaur, methinks.
Lesson learned, we only do Dinosaur 3 times in a row.
Yeah. That 4th time is the one that'll get you. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
A lot of people mentioning the walking around like with coffee or whatever through like Jungle Trek, Gorilla Falls. Like I'm seeing a lot of that, which is so cool. Oh, okay. So Chelsea Lancel said, I forget what it's called, but the parrot show by the Tree of Life. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yep. When they all come flying in from whatever corners of Animal Kingdom they were in.
Yep.
That is so cool. And also we didn't mention the, was it called Flights of Wonder? It's up, back in that little...
A Great Bird Show, or something like that. I love that show. That was one of my honorable mentions because it's so way more entertaining than I feel like a normal like bird show would be. But they bring out... Of course, they've got a whole storyline to go with it and stuff like that. But these birds are so well trained and they fly over your heads and stuff. It's very cool.
If you're a little freaked out by birds, though...
Maybe don't do that.
No, I'm not totally freaked out by birds, but like a healthy amount. Like I have a healthy fear of birds, like a normal person. Yeah. But yeah, there's like a time where they have them fly out and they like fly really low over your heads on purpose. And it's not
And a lot of times they'll do like
Exactly.
audience participation and stuff like that.
No,
It's really cool.
that really is a cool show. We haven't done that in a while. We should definitely do it next
Yeah.
time.
Charlie17XOX also said the animal encounters with macaws. It gives me chills every time.
Oh,
It's one of those things that it's probably on the app. You can find the times, but I feel like we just always happen to catch it, and they'll fly in. And they're just beautiful, absolutely beautiful,
majestic. So, Little Obs mentioned going to Nomad Lounge, which is just like connected to Tiffin's. So it'd be like before you enter Pandora. For churros, which I know we're not talking food, but interesting. Didn't know they had those there. And watch the floats go by. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I totally. We're planning our next trip. I'm not going to give anything yet because we're not sure exactly when, but hopefully would be soon. And so we're kind of creating our list of like things we want to like prioritize doing. Because I feel like when you go with kids, it's like you really do have to figure out what you want to do and like prioritize it, or else you don't do anything.
So the Disney duo said, walking, beer in hand, under the tree of life in all its secret places.
Oh my.
It's so true though. That's the whole thing, is that there's so many secret places that you don't know about unless you just take the time to just wander.
Yeah.
You have to almost factor that into your Animal Kingdom time. It's just finding time to just walk around.
And I remember you saying, I think we were talking about Hollywood Studios and how it used to be viewed as like a half-day park. Absolutely not. I think at this point, none of them are half-day parks.
Yeah.
But I also, I say that as a person that goes to Disney all the time. If you're only there a couple days, you make do, and you do what you have to do to see the Animal Kingdom places. Yeah, more people saying watch the flotillas from the Nomad Lounge patio.
That's awesome.
We are missing out.
So smart.
I also feel very validated. Ellie Morley said, "Does Kite Tails count? I bloody love it." Yes, I love it too. We're counting it. Listen, a lot of people are talking about food, and it's just making me hungry. We might need to cut it here.
Here's another person talking about the secret places under the tree of life. Kay's Captures, having a beer and walking around the secret places. You must have talked to the Disney duo. Oh my, Mr. Kamal season fries.
Also,
oh my gosh, there are so many good ones here.
One of the other honorable mentions I didn't throw in is the Boneyard, the little kids' playground. I think it's my favorite kids' playground they have because it's totally unique. There's like little caves they can kind of crawl or wade in. And the last time we were in there, they were like, it was wildly hot. And I saw like a couple teenagers in there just on their phone in the shade, like just trying to get, like, anyone was just desperate for cool air.
Oh my gosh, there are so many good responses. We need to find a better way to like share all of these responses because there are so many good ones that we don't have time to share. So
I wish we could.
Right.
So the other thing we wanted to chat about was, what do you want to see next? We have about 150 episode ideas.
Right.
Like, I don't even think I'm exaggerating. Yeah. So for us, we're trying to be wise about the order we do them in and what you guys want to see. Like, obviously this felt natural to kind of go through the 4 parks at Disney World and share our favorites. That felt like a solid starting place for you guys to get to know like what we're into,
Yeah.
But we've gotten a lot of requests for Disneyland.
That's been the number one requested thing. Because I figured we'd talk about Disneyland, but I am amazed at the amount of comments who are like, I've never been to Walt Disney World, but I go to Disneyland all the time, or I'm local to that area, or that kind of thing.
Or
so
it's
I think
closer.
So maybe we do Disneyland sooner rather than later, and if we do, maybe we do a top 10 at each park. There? Are you already tired of the top 10s?
Yeah, because we don't want to like pigeonhole. We're not just going to be doing top 10s. We're going to do a lot of different kinds of things. So we were kind of like, well, maybe we get away from that for just a few episodes.
Yeah. We were going to talk about Disney Springs next. That was originally the plan, like a top 10 in Disney Springs, but I think maybe we pushed that. But we haven't even touched really on restaurants or food. We haven't touched on the resorts. We've got a lot to talk about. So what do you guys want to see next? Yeah,
what would feel natural for you guys to see that we did? What?
I think that made sense.
Slow it down, baby. You get what I'm saying. We're just curious on your feedback. I mean, we're doing this because we enjoy it, but you guys are the people that are listening, and we want to make sure we're doing things you guys want to listen to or want to watch.
And it's hard right now, too, because we are only doing one every other week. I think we've talked about once we move into our new workspace, we're going to have a separate area for this, so we'll be able to do once per week. We're probably looking at late June, early July before that happens. So especially because we're only doing one every 2 weeks, I feel like I want to make sure that we're doing ones that everyone is excited about.
And really solid episodes.
Yeah. So what do you want to talk about? Disneyland? Restaurants in Walt Disney World? Resorts?
Disney Springs? We're planning some episodes about like our favorite free or really cheap things to do.
Yeah. Some people have asked, because we have a lot of people that are not Disney people that still listen, which is so awesome. But they were like,
Thank you guys.
what about like and I think this is a great idea, Walt Disney World 101. Like, what do I need to know in order to understand? Like, I'm talking like, if you go to Walt Disney World, it's in Orlando, Florida. Disneyland is in California. There's 4 theme parks. Here's what they are. Like, I mean, Disney 101. Would that be helpful? Let me know.
Yeah, that wouldn't be like super soon, but like eventually I think we definitely should do that.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people...
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Think back to, if you're someone that does go to Disney a decent amount or has been, think back to before you'd ever gone and just starting, especially now, but even 20 years ago, when you start to try to plan a trip, you're like, whoa, okay, hold on. This is not as simple as just buying tickets and showing up. Like, there's so much more to it. So, I mean, I think that'd be beneficial for a lot of people.
Absolutely. So let us know what you want to see next.
Yeah.
And...
Any life updates we want to share? Feel like we're kind of cruising through. We've got a lot of, in addition to the podcast, where I feel like we've both been kind of like low level stress with just different things going on, like our dealing with getting a different car. We're working on getting our new workspace. I know we've talked about just living life with 2 kids. It's just been a lot all at the same time. It's felt like
everything everywhere all at once. We still need to see that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it looks so good.
It looks so good.
But it's just felt like a lot. So I feel like the dust is starting to settle on a few of those things. So it feels like we can kind of get our head above water, which is why we're considering doing a Disney trip soon. But I feel like the second we start planning a Disney trip, all of the dust that has settled gets kicked right back up, because we have to like make sure. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys watching or listening. If you do want to give us advice about what you'd like to see next, we'll probably we'll be looking mostly at YouTube comments. So if you're listening to this, hop over to our YouTube channel and comment there, because that's probably where we're going to see the most
comments.
It's just
the easiest way to
get immediate feedback. Yeah. Or on Instagram, maybe we can post a quick poll on there or something like that. And so
and you can and feel free to DM on Instagram. But again, I feel like YouTube comments are easier to comb through than DMs, because you can see more at the same time. Yeah. And sometimes the DM inbox can get a little overwhelming, which is a great problem to have. But it's so.
But yeah, so I'm really excited. Again, we have and we're going to do all of these episodes. So don't worry. All of these things we talked about are going
We're going to be here forever.
It's just what are we going to do next?
Yes. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys or chat with you guys. Yeah. You said just watching, listening and watching. See, this is I'm too used to YouTube. I've been doing it for 10 years.
So thank you guys for taking us in any capacity.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Anyway, all right, we're done. Stick a fork in us. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
All right, we're done. Stick a fork in us. See you next time.
Bye, guys. That's funny.
Jessica.
No! Was it not recording anything?